So, but I'm just trying to understand this. As you say, for example, the NYEP is unnecessary, because he's been telling me in your absence that they have created 70,000 direct jobs, and through the agricultural program, another 50,000, all put together about 120,000. And that this 120,000 people have temporarily been given jobs. They have, some of them are being trained, some of them are going to then have their own apprentices and then set them up in other forms of business as they go along. And that will translate to perhaps 1 million from this 70,000.
I think the key word you used is temporal. They're seasonal. And
that's what he said, exactly. Actually. He
yes.
said seasonal jobs, but then they are meant, as a matter of fact, to empower. So that even though you are employed for a season, if you are, for example, it says that, and we'll be talking about the models, because I didn't really let him go on that tangent yet. I wanted really to understand some basic issues. So immediately we start getting, I already have a sense of the models we'll be discussing. That technical education, all of that is looked at technical employment, where, for example, you are taught how to sew. You alone, they're giving some amount of money, a part of it is a loan, a part of it is a grant or something. And then that way, you can now have 5 or 10 apprentices, and it's just you. So those 5 or 10 apprentices have that stock of money, half of it now being used to set them up because they cannot pay you fees. And as they grow, they will also set up other things. And to somebody who has heard him and heard you now, they may even be tempted to say that, well, the layoffs you're talking about may okay, but under the NYEP, they are giving skills that ensures that they don't become unemployed people, and that they only enter different segments of the working force. You know, I don't know how true that is. It's just my thinking. But 120,000 jobs, if we can prove that, is a lot of jobs. And I don't see how tax incentive and easy setting up of businesses and getting out could have provided jobs for 120,000.
Well, that's the way it sounds. I mean, wasn't Keynes who said that in the long run we are all dead? Okay. Because every time that politicians think, they always should think short term. The point that has been mentioned here is clear that in the short term there are people who are redundant. There are people who need jobs. There are people who need to be catered for. But you see, the whole model, that structure on which the NYEP is based, is a centralized authority, which obviously, whose funding is at the beck and call of the presidency, is at the whim of the presidency. So what it means is that sometimes the monies that are voted for some of these rather nice initiatives may not necessarily be the case. You see, I'm coming from the angle that says, let's not just do things knee-jerk stuff, right? Because at the end of the day, guess what? You leave PA, and I wouldn't be surprised if we even get to know, and we kept hearing this during the first time, that, some of the people who are at the NEP are actually apologists of a particular political party, which was the reason why you saw toilets takeovers and all those kinds of things. You see, my point really is that we want to move away from this seasonal way of looking at things, where at the end of a political term, all these rather interesting jobs that have been created, however seasonal, are now being thrown off with people hijacking the most, isn't it interesting, toilets, and all manner of places. It tells you that someone's livelihood, if you indeed cared, should not be based on the political cycle. You see, that is my argument, that the NYEP, short of having a proper decentralized administration, a proper decentralized system of doing things in this country, it is just a political tool. And the way you get it used, so 120,000, it's not a figment of anyone's imagination.
But I presume they are there of NDC youth.
Oh, it may as well be, but I don't even care. They are human beings, and then they are being catered for. The point, though, is that, are they seasonal? The other question I'm sure he'll be asking is that, but then some skills have been transferred and something has been done. Well, it depends on what type of skills have actually been transferred, because you know, my friend was in China recently, not recent, I think a decade back, and when he went, he saw that they were digging, there was a road construction. All of a sudden, they saw so many Chinese men digging with shovels. And then he asked him, he was American, and then he asked the foreman, said, but listen, there's technology now. Why would you want to have all these people dig this thing? He said, but you know, we need to provide employment. We need to have manpower.
So instead of having maybe 2 equipment,
that's the point.
You have 100.
But then he said, then why don't you give them spoons? Because when you give them spoons, there'll be more people, and it takes much longer time. I think this whole idea, really, of stop shops, it is all fine, but it's not sustainable.